Are club sports sinful? Oh, someone recently asked me that question, and I don't want you to ask me that question because I have very strong opinions about that question. Are club sports sinful? I'm not sure if you're a kid who is in club sports right now. I don't know if you're a parent or a grandparent who's at the tournaments and are trying to make decisions about the future of your family's schedule. I don't know if you're just a friend or a ministry leader who thinks that, wow, there's something going on here I need to think more about. Are club sports sinful? Let me start with a little background. I have been a lover of sports for my entire life. So I started playing organized soccer when I was 4. I'm in my 40s now, so I got like 40 straight years. I started playing club soccer when I was 11. I played as long as I could until I was 18 or 19 years old. I played soccer and tennis in high school. I played soccer and tennis at college. I was a hockey captain for a lot of my life. I got into distance. I'm a lover of sports. I love watching soccer. I love going on runs with my friends. And I'm raising kids now, and I see just how much joy the world of sports has brought to me. I made some great friends through playing sports. I learned a lot of life lessons from victory and failure. I could tell you about like the sweetest goals and moments from my sports career. So I want you to hear me that I don't hate sports just because, I got 2 left feet. I actually love sports in a deep way. But as a parent, and my girls right now are in their middle teenage years, 16 and almost 15 years old, I've really noticed that something has shifted in American culture, that those of us who are kind of middle of the road athletically are being pushed into schedules and commitments that would have been reserved for the best of us a generation ago. Let me say that again. I think the average commitment for a kid who's involved in sports today is the kind of commitment that would have been expected for kids with let's say a chance at a college scholarship yesterday. My wife Kim and I don't argue about many things, but trying to figure this out for our own kids as people who both work, who have enough on our plates already, who want to stay close to God, like this has been really, really personally tough for us. We've wrestled with this tension. We want our kids to be connected and involved and to learn the lessons that sports does. But wow, we've also noticed if we're working Monday to Friday and Sundays filled with church, and then there's like a tournament every Saturday and likely what do we do with that? Well, when I answer your question with an open Bible, which is always my goal, I want to be careful that I don't commit a very tempting sin that the Pharisees committed. In Matthew chapter 15, Jesus, speaking to the Pharisees, said, "They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules." So the Pharisees, sometimes to avoid sinning, would add rules and act like their man-made rules were God's rules, and that simply wasn't true. So I want to be really cautious in my answer that I'm not adding things that aren't in the Bible, or implying that everyone who does A or B or C is overcommitted, they're sinning against God, and they worship sports. That's not true. Instead, today, I just want to give you some hopefully wise and beneficial questions to think about. Here's the one I think about most. If I prioritize the things that are passionate parts of God's heart, is there still room in my schedule for club sports? If I prioritize God's passions, and when I read the Bible, I think of God's passions as knowing Jesus in a deep and personal way. Psalm 1, meditating on the Word of God day and night. Hebrews 10, gathering with God's people to encourage each other. When I think about God's passions for me as a parent, that He calls me to train up my children, not like drop them off at the church or the youth ministry, but to train up my children in the way that they should go. Or Deuteronomy 6, as we're walking along the road, lying down and getting up to be thinking about God and talking about God. Or when I think about God's passion for my community, that those of us who have work and income, we should love the poor and serve the poor and love even the least of these. When I ask myself those kind of questions, like could I have a close relationship with God, a close relationship with my church? Can I have a close relationship with my kids? Can I serve the poor and still have the time and money to do what modern club sports asks? Ooh, That's what makes me think. There's only so much room in my jar for time commitments. I'm a created being just like you. And I think the smart thing that you and I should do is to put the big rocks into the jar first. Connecting with Jesus, loving God, teaching our kids to connect with Jesus and love God, to have a strong church life, to be investing in our community. And if there's space in your jar that you can pour in some extra practices and games, God bless you. And I hope it brings you great joy. But if the situation that you're in forces you to choose between one or the other, if committing to club sports means you're only showing up at your church family once a month or twice a month, or you don't have money to give to the poor because the tournaments and the investment cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, then you really need to think what matters most to you. And I would say especially what matters most to God. Man, I feel for your parents. It is a tough time to live. We want our kids to be involved, but not overcommitted. And so I'm praying today that God would give you wisdom to be humble, to think about his priorities, and to adjust your schedule accordingly. May God bless you as you do. Hey, thanks for listening to Taboo Questions with me, Pastor Mike Novotny. You can find even more questions on timeofgrace.org/taboo questions and in my book entitled Taboo, Topics Christians Should Be Talking About But Don't. Just look for the link in the episode notes.